Irma Torres of California. Exactly 4 years ago, we should remind our viewers, she and other House members ducked for cover in the House gallery as rioters tried to break in. She recorded what was happening on her phone. Take a look at this.
Everybody stay down! Get down! Oh my God, they're gonna fire on them.
And Congresswoman Torres joins us now. Congresswoman, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it. What goes through your mind when you recall what happened on that day and the fact that we're on the verge of another Trump term?
4 years ago, January 6th was a much different day than it is today. Today we're surrounded by metal barriers, a giant fence. This is like the Iron Dome here today. But 4 years ago, unfortunately, when you heard those words, oh my God, they're going to fire on them. Remember, this was after we were face down in Gallery 3, where the gunshot just below us had just been fired earlier, and we had crawled all the way around that gallery on that day, 45 minutes face down in sheer terror, hearing glass breaking, hearing furniture being thrown against the wall, pounding on the doors with these terrorists that came to hurt us on that day. We're just causing chaos. So today I am very thrilled to see this much security. I am so glad that the Homeland Security actually mandated that we have a full force, not just here in the Capitol, but in other areas that need to be secured from anyone wishing to do Americans harm and to undo our democratic state.
And we're still looking at more of this video here. I mean, this is what members of Congress went through, including yourself at that time. You had to be hustled out of the Capitol because we weren't sure if you were going to be killed. I mean, that was a real possibility that was going through all of your minds. If there's one thing you could say to Donald Trump today, what would that be?
What I would say to Donald Trump is that it is time for him to acknowledge that 4 years ago, what he did was unconscionable and undeserving of, a president of the United States to send an angry mob simply because he was unhappy with the election results. That will not be happening today because Democrats are not election deniers. We value everyone's vote. We cherish elections. We want and we encourage everyone to participate, whether we agree with them or not. So this is a much different day. Jim, I remembering that day just before we actually were ordered to put on our gas masks. I was witness because I was sitting way at the first row at the top. One of our security officers was violently pushed into the gallery, and thank God that he was able to maneuver and balance himself, and he was able to push back that aggressor back into the hall. And soon after that, they locked that door. And that is when we began looking for weapons and anything to help defend ourselves on that horrible day. I would not wish that on anyone, but certainly not on anyone here in the United States of America.
And Congresswoman, as you know, Donald Trump has repeatedly lied about the events of January 6th. Let's listen to some of what he said about that day.
They were there proud. They were there with love in their heart. That was an unbelievable, and it was a beautiful day. And it was love and peace. And some people went to the Capitol, and a lot of strange things happened there. You had a peaceful, very peaceful. I left the morning that I was supposed to leave. I went to Florida, and you had a very peaceful transfer. That was a day of love from the standpoint of the millions. It's like hundreds of thousands. It could have been.
Congresswoman, what does it mean to you that the president-elect, the soon-to-be president, has been able to convince so many of his supporters that that day was not what we know it to be, which was a violent insurrection, that he's been able to pull the wool over their eyes?
I do not believe that he's been able to pull the wool over anyone's eyes. I think people have chosen to elect him and have chosen to deny the fact that the mob that came to hurt us, to hang the vice president, the Republican vice president of the United States here in front of the U.S. Capitol, was sent by him. They did not have love in their heart. Certainly it did not feel as if they had love in their heart from the violence. Remember, these people put feces all over the walls in the U.S. Capitol. 140 police officers were injured that day, and 3 of them, one succumbed to his injuries the day after, and 2 of them committed suicide soon after. So it was not a day of love as has been described and as the former president and president-elect would like us to believe. It was a violent day that we must remember, and we must remember because it is our duty to ensure that we do not repeat that. Democrat or Republican, we can never repeat the January 6th of 4 years ago.
All right, Congresswoman Norma Torres, thank you very much for your time this morning. Thank you for taking the time to talk about what happened that day, what indeed happened that day. Congresswoman, thanks so much for your time.